Hey, welcome to ATS News. Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
The missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her, they've been feeling worse.
Turn it over to another agency. Let's get some help.
Where are your kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Chad, where are Lori's kids?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Can somebody in the chat let me know if the audio is good and everything's okay to proceed? I'm so happy you guys are here on my channel. If it's your first time, please like and subscribe. And hello, everybody in chat. I see you all, and I appreciate you all being here with me. We've got some stuff to discuss. We're going to do a recap of last week, and yeah, we'll just jump right into it. So everyone's saying the sound is good. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Hit like if you haven't, and let's just start playing the recaps and the clips that I have for you guys. It's around 18 minutes that I've edited together. It'll be some of the testimonies from the witnesses, from people close to the crime, as far as like the inner circle. You know, Melanie's husband's going to be clipped in here, even JJ's principal. I've got just a little bit of everything that we heard, and it's going to be formatted in a way that we can sum it up. So it's hard to make sense of this because, like I said in previous live streams, we have one foot in reality in, you know, this horrific crime, and these children, and Charles and Tammy lost their life. And then we have another foot in this fantasy world that Chad and Lori have created, as far as, you know, who is a goddess and who is going to be spared from the end of the world, etc. I mean, it's just absolutely wild. So we're going to navigate through all that together today. I do want to pose a question before we get started with the clips, and I want to know your guys' opinion. You know, is Lori living in a fantasy world? Is she literally in a state where she thinks that she helped the children by setting them free and releasing some dark spirit and you know, pretty much what she was trying to justify everything with by, you know, calling them a zombie? Is it something where she truly believes that? Or is she a very calculated, manipulative, had so much intention with this crime? And that's what I want to ponder with you guys today. Okay, so let's get started.
Well, me and Peter Griffin run away together to Hawaii? How about that?
I want her to get help. I'm worried about her. I'm worried about her.
On the day Charles was killed, it appears that Lori stopped at Walgreens, Burger King, and then dropped JJ off at school.
Right, and are you wanting to start CPR?
No, I don't know how to do that.
I can walk you through it.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is you're going to put one hand in the center of his chest.
Yeah.
The other hand's going to go right on top of it.
Okay.
You're going to interlock your fingers, keeping your arms straight, and you're going to press down hard and fast into his chest. You're going to go 2 inches down and fairly quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Making sure his chest goes up between each compression. Where's the gun now?
It's in the other room.
A Chandler firefighter testified that there was no signs that Alex Cox attempted CPR on Charles Vallow when they arrived on the scene. And come to find out, they waited 45 minutes to even make that 911 call.
She was calm, unemotional, I would say, not upset. The conversation revolved around Tylee and her school and kind of Tylee's future plans. She was almost nonchalant about the conversation.
He was just so angry, like super scary. There's something on his phone that he does not want me to see, that he was like freaking out, like to the point where I thought he would hit me in the back of the head to get the phone.
Okay. So you thought, and not, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you thought it was possible that he was going to hurt you?
Absolutely, he was going to hurt me and Tylee.
Okay.
Not JJ, he would never hurt JJ.
Okay.
And he hurt my brother. Like, he was going like ballistic about. It was bad.
And he came at me with the bat again after he'd already hit me in the head, so I shot him to stop him.
Colby Ryan's testimony was monumental for the prosecution this week.
What did she tell you about Charles Vallow's death?
She told me that he had died from a heart attack.
From a heart attack?
From a heart attack.
Okay. Did she say anything about him being shot?
No. I saw Alex sitting on the couch watching TV. He was wearing a white bandage around his head. I asked him why he was wearing the bandage, and he said that he got hit in the head with a bat and then shot Charles.
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
Did you see Lorivallow that night?
Yes.
What was her general demeanor?
Calm.
His phone call with his mother is truly heartbreaking. Here's just a portion of it, and then we'll listen to a legal analyst and a trial attorney give his opinion about the phone call.
I am the one that was there doing everything with JJ every day. I was the one who did it all these years.
You did it all to throw it in the garbage. They're not.
You don't know what happened. You don't know what happened.
Freaking matter what happened if they're buried in your new husband's backyard. Tell me that matters what happened. You tell me that you did this in Jesus' name, Mom. I have to hear that out of you. You believe it and you are not afraid. Every witness of Christ will scream his name when he comes back. So you are that person.
I am that person. I am that person. Right. And he will come to you. Oh, yeah, Colby, because that's what it is.
You know, usually in a high-profile murder case, you like to have, you know, some forensic evidence, physical evidence connecting the accused with the murder. So up until now in this trial, I haven't really heard any of that. It's been a lot of innuendo, right? But this phone call by Colby to Lorivallow Daybell is potentially devastating to her. And here's why. In most states, including Idaho, you have a legal doctrine called an implied admission or a tacit admission. What does that mean? It means when somebody accuses you of doing something, like here Colby says, look, you knew these kids were gone. You didn't tell me. You killed these kids. You made them disappear. And Lori doesn't respond to that comment. That is arguably what's called an implied admission, because a normal person who hasn't done this would respond and say, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't make these kids go away. I'm not at fault. She didn't do that. And if I'm the prosecutor, I'm arguing that's an implied admission of guilt. It's almost like me telling you, Kelly, hey, I saw you driving home from work. I saw you run through that red light, and you don't say anything. I mean, arguably, you're guilty then.
It seems like the state has been laying the groundwork to show that Lori was done with JJ well before he even became missing. Lori's former friend, April, gave an interesting testimony this week as well.
She said that her and Charles were going to be getting divorced, that Charles had had an affair, and then the conversation changed to where Charles wasn't Charles, that Charles was a demon named Ned Snyder.
Says, I'm Nick Snyder. I've taken over Charles's body.
And the conversation just kind of evolved from there.
Now, who was visiting with Lorivallow when she was at your home at this time?
Tylee was with her.
Where was JJ?
JJ was with Charles, was my understanding.
Okay. And did the defendant say why she didn't bring JJ?
She said that she was done with JJ and that Charles and his sister Kay would need to figure it out.
And for the record, there's no evidence to suggest that Charles was ever having an affair.
I'm literally at a loss for words at the Instagram posts that Tylee made for Lori on Lori's birthday. They read, "I won the lottery with this one as my mom. Happy birthday." And that was in 2018. And then the year before that, it says, "Happy birthday to my mom. My mom is superior to yours, so don't even try. She is talented, beautiful, smart, and caring. Love you from your favorite child."
David Warwick is Melanie Gibbs' husband. At the time, he was at the house the night before JJ went missing. This is what he had to say about everything that he witnessed.
During the times you saw Chad, what was his interactions like with Lorivallow?
They were very loving with one another and affectionate.
Okay. Now, at this time, were you aware that he was still married to Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
Okay. Did the fact that he was married come up at all?
Yes.
All right. How did that happen?
I asked him I just asked him how his marriage was with the Tammy and if she was a good wife, and he said he had no complaints, that she was a good wife, but he said her time was coming up, and that him and Lori were gonna, go do the things that they had committed to do for God.
Okay. So when you say her time was coming up, your Tammy's time was...
He said he had a dream that she was going to pass away before he was 50 or by the time he was 50.
Okay. And so that was Tammy was going to pass away before Chad was 50?
Yeah, by the time Chad was 50. Okay. The dream was I think he said 3 years previous.
Okay. And that, and then he said he and Lori were going to be together. What did that mean?
That they were going to get married and they were going to go do their calling.
So did you spend that night there as well?
Yes.
All right. Did anything happen in the night?
Yeah, in the early hours of the morning, I had it was one of the worst nightmares of my life. It was very real.
Did Melanie come try to help you as you were waking up from that nightmare?
Yes.
Okay. How did that happen? Let me do it this way. How did Melanie try to help you?
She had heard me talking in my sleep, kind of, I guess I was screaming out or calling out.
Okay.
And so she kind of helped wake me up.
Okay. And then what happened after she helped wake you up?
She said, I'm going to go get Lori, see if we can get Chad over here to give you a blessing. Okay. So she went, and she went to go get Lori, but she came back because she said she couldn't get anybody.
Okay.
So I'm just going to pause it right here. I do want to kind of reflect on this testimony. It's very, very important. This is the last night that Melanie Gibbs' husband is recapping that JJ was seen alive by anybody. And, it was just very interesting. First off, as soon as he goes up on the stand, and his name is David Warwick, as soon as he goes up on the stand, it comes out through the questioning that he had listened to 45 minutes of Melanie Gibbs' testimony from the week prior. So that was where the first almost half hour of his testimony was. It was just him pretty much admitting that on accident, quote, accident, he was listening in on Melanie Gibbs' testimony. And, he had been sick, so he wasn't really paying much attention to it. And it was just on some YouTube channel. It was just very strange. I find that very strange. I don't know how you guys are finding it. I know that it went through the judge and through the defense and all that, but it was just very much like, why? Like, was he trying to corroborate his story with Melanie's story? Was he trying to make sure that they pretty much left certain things out? You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it was just very coordinated, even though he made it seem like, oh, it was just an accident and I wasn't really listening. I just hope that there's no grounds for an appeal in the future or a mistrial because of all this. And I mean by him listening in. Now, and hello, Sleuth Mom and everyone else who has joined us. The other thing too is, so he wakes up from this nightmare And he, is at Lori's house, and he's just distraught. And Melanie says, well, let me go see if I can find Lori and Chad. And Melanie comes back empty. She has nobody to bless him or to do whatever they were hoping to do for David at that moment because of his, real life nightmare, he said. It was very real, he says. Now, I just wanted to read this. It's from one of the Facebook groups on the case, and I thought it was interesting, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Again, this is just speculation, but I felt like, after listening to him pretty much admit that he had listened in a little bit and, it was, quote, an accident, and it was only 45 minutes, it makes me think that it was longer than 45 minutes. He then went on to say that him and Melanie Gibb hadn't discussed anything about the case or at all since she testified the week prior. And then, he was questioned about, well, how do you know that she's home and blah, blah, blah. And, well, I know that she lives there, so I just assume it. And so you haven't talked to your wife at all? And he was like, no. And then they were like, how do you know, though, that she is in Arizona? And he says, well, she texted me saying that she was on her way back home. And it's like, so then you did communicate. I don't know. It's just very strange, these people in this small circle. Of course, none of them believed anything that Chad and Lori were saying, quote unquote, according to them now. But it's like, but you were okay with it at the time to go along with it? It just makes no sense. So anyways, here's the speculation. And again, I find it interesting. And I think that was the point of the testimony at this moment, to point out that Lori and Chad were missing in action at this point of this nightmare for David. People are saying that Melanie Gibb is super shady. Yeah, I agree. So there's something strange. So anyways, why was Lori and Chad unable to be found at that moment in the middle of the night? And again, this is the last night JJ was seen alive. So this speculative post says, just a thought concerning David Warwick and Melanie Gibb. Could it be possible that David's nightmare / quote dream was actually him hearing JJ being K'd? David was very hard of hearing. Melanie went into his room, so she was either awake already, thus being her reason for needing immunity. That would mean they heard what was going on. I also found it odd that a lot of others are stating that Melanie believed just like Lori, but Melanie says that she did not believe the same. Melanie, in my opinion, set David up, sending him the audio of her testimony. I think she wanted him to be dismissed from testifying. Another clue, she may have known exactly what occurred that night, in my opinion. Now, again, this is just somebody else's post. I found it interesting. There were a lot of people who agreed and who were saying, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. It's just strange. And here's the thing. Lori keeps saying, I wasn't there. Well, then where was she in the middle of the night here when David's having this nightmare?
And so of the night?
Yes, I would say it was in the early hours of the morning. I didn't have a clock there, but I know it was after midnight.
Okay. So as you were kind of waking up and coming back from the nightmare, did you see Lorivallow at that time?
No.
Okay. Was Melanie able to get her to come help you guys?
No.
Okay. Now, the next morning, did you see JJ?
No. Excuse me.
Do you need some water?
Sorry.
No, it's all right. You okay?
Yeah.
All right. And so when you woke up the next morning, did you see JJ that morning?
I did not.
Okay. Did you make any inquiries about JJ?
Yes, I did. We went downstairs to say goodbye, and Lori was there, and she just said that JJ had an episode, and he climbed up on the cabinets, and then he climbed up on top of the fridge, and then he climbed up on top of the upper cabinets and knocked over her picture of Christ. And she just said that he was out of, she couldn't control him.
So what did she say she did?
She called Alex and had Alex come and get him.
Okay.
Well, before she told me that Alex took JJ, I said, well, I'd like to see him because I wanted to make sure he was okay.
Why?
Well, because I didn't see any signs of the cabinets. There was no damage on the cabinets. There was no scuffs on the stainless steel fridge. And I just was trying to understand what was going on here. But I also, if JJ did have a problem, I'd like to give him a blessing.
Okay. And so then you ask her where he was?
Yeah.
And what did she say?
She said Alex. She had Alex come and get him.
It seems JJ was getting in the way of her affair with Chad and even the podcast.
Now, everything is always pawned off on Alex. If Alex can't do anything right, he sure as heck was given a lot of responsibility. And here I just wanted to play a little bit of the blessing to Alex because I just feel like it's very eerie, but we hadn't played it, and this is just a small portion. And it just shows how Chad and Lori used their religious belief, the extreme beliefs that they had, to help control people around them. Alex seems like he was somebody who was lost, looking for a place to be, looking for meaning in life, possibly. And unfortunately, he found it with Chad and Lori.
You will give tremendous blessings to them, raise their vibrations, and be like a brother to many of these fathers who may have had doubts, but through your strength, they will look to you as a hero, and you'll bring entire families that have been sanctified to the gates of New Jerusalem. They will be allowed in on your word.
JJ's school principal also testified, and here's what he had to say about the days leading up to JJ going missing.
Around the 24th of September.
Okay. And do you recall the contents of that email?
Yes.
What were they?
She had indicated that that they were removing JJ from school, from Kennedy, and were sending him to Louisiana to be with grandparents.
Here is just some of the phone forensics that the detective pulled from Chad and Lori's phones.
This text message from Chad to Lori reads, "Beautiful Lily, I'm eager to see you soon, trying to hasten her departure. I love you endlessly." And this is a reference to Tammy's demise and how it was coming soon, and he was hoping that it would come quicker.
From Chad. Well, I've had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun, and he was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. He is now in our pet cemetery. Fun times.
And the next message?
9/9/2019, 11:56:59 a.m. From Chad. Gonna shower now and then go right for a while at BYU. Love you.
And the next, please.
9/9/2019, 2:47:06 p.m. To Chad. Good for you.
And finally, the last message.
9/9/2019, 2:48:20 p.m. From Chad. I'm back home now.
Dean, why did these messages catch your attention?
The first message in particular stood out to me because it was longer and more detailed than any of the other messages exchanged between Chad and Tammy that I had found or that I would later find on the device. Generally speaking, Chad and Tammy kept their messages relatively short, to the point, and they mostly had to do with financial or logistical issues of day-to-day life, such as picking up or dropping off checks, whether or not food needed to be picked up for animals at the house or at their property, and what time one or the other was planning to get home or planning to leave the house. This message appeared to be the first and only time that I could see from everything on the device wherein Chad texted Tammy a rather detailed and step-by-step explanation of his day's events in sort of a narrative style.
Sometimes it's not the crime, it's the cover-up.
And from my own experience, I can tell you that, Lori's dad has been a big factor in her personality. And
I thought this was very interesting. This was from Ashley Banfield, and it was a cousin of Lori's. And, we have heard from childhood friends, like a high school friend and stuff like that, but there really isn't much about Lori's upbringing. So I found this very interesting, and I think that has a lot to do with her idea of thinking that she's superior, plays into her thinking she's this goddess, and allowed her to kind of justify perhaps being better than like the mom life. I think that she was like done being this mom. I feel like a lot of this has to do with the money aspect, just like the prosecution is trying to lay out. The money that the children would provide with their Social Security, that was what Lori was after, I believe. I think that once Charles was killed and she realized she was not the beneficiary of that money, the life insurance, that she became desperate, and it helped her justify, the children's deaths. And Tylee probably knew too much also. So I think that there's an element of her just being fed up with taking care of JJ and his special needs. She complains even to Colby in that phone call that I was doing this every day with them and blah, blah, blah. And he says, yeah, you did it all for nothing. They're gone, And it's just, it speaks volumes to me, the fact that not only does she complain about having to take care of the kids and Tylee, who also had pancreatitis. First off, she's a mother. That's what you're supposed to do. So her saying, I did it all those years, and it's like, good for you. I mean, that's your obligation. I just feel like this part was very interesting to hear from her cousin. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like there was a part of me that thought she justified these killings because she really did believe these religious views. But now I'm really starting to see that it was just monetary gain for her. And especially since she didn't get that life insurance from Charles. We heard from Kay in our last live stream that, she was dumping JJ on Charles and her at one point, coming in and out of their life. And then we heard from April earlier in the live stream. For those who just joined us, April Raymond, her previous good friend, says that, Lori confided in her that she was done with JJ and that Charles and Kay would have to figure it out. And then, it's just, to me, it just seems more and more. I think we even heard from David Warwick, him say something about JJ being loud while they were doing the podcast. It just seems like Lori was done with that life and she wanted to just move on, and pocketing the Social Security money was a bonus. And I really just, I'm having a hard time thinking that she's this. Now, I do believe she's mentally ill. But do I believe that she absolutely believed that they were zombies and that she was saving them by killing them? I'm not sure. At first, I thought like, wow, yeah, she, they did deem her incompetent for a whole year. She couldn't stand trial. There must be some big part of her brain that thinks that this was justified. But the more I'm starting to see the steps that she took, emailing JJ's principal and saying, he'll be withdrawing from school and he's going to be staying with grandparents. Her just dumping JJ off like so easily. And remember, not that this is always the case, but JJ was not her biological son. She did not carry him. We see her call Colby, oh, there's my baby, as he's approaching on the stand. Reporters were saying that she was saying that to her lawyer, there's my baby. It's funny how Colby, the oldest, who was already out of the house, not really much in her life at that moment, just doing his own thing, he didn't turn into a dark spirit. Just the ones that were dependent on her.
In the way that she has turned out, and the majority of the family system run by Barry, but underneath that, I think there was a lot of a lot of what happened was because what Lori wanted needed to get done. Very, anybody who has dug into his history a little bit will tell you that he definitely believed he was above the law. He, filed suit against the IRS, tried to sue the IRS, always talked about how the IRS is an illegal organization that should be dismantled. And then he later served prison time for tax evasion. So, always believed that he was above the law. And I think the most pervasive thing that ran throughout the family system was this concept that Barry talked about called the lower 95, where he believes that 95% of the population are stupid, sheep, unattractive people. And he and his family are in the upper 5% who are smarter than everybody, more intelligent, more exceptional, more beautiful. And certainly that plays into a lot of Lori's personality.
So Lori being raised by somebody who thought he was above the law and also served time for financial crimes, I think is very interesting and is noteworthy when we're looking at Lorivallow as far as, who she is, what way was she conditioned growing up? Is her actions criminal or are they just mental illness? There's a lot of people, even professionals, who are saying she truly believed that she was saving them because they were evil, dark spirits. So she doesn't see anything wrong with the killings of the children. But I just am wondering more and more, Tylee knew too much. She wants to save herself and Chad. So Tylee had to go. Oh, convenient. We don't have life insurance from Charles, but Tylee's got Social Security and money. And remember, Colby even says that at one point, Tylee even said to him that mom's taken over my card or the bank account or something, things were moved as far as access to Tylee's money before her death. So it's just seeming more and more like it was an idea that was just growing in Lori's mind. Like, this would be a good route. I could have my affair or my man who I'm having an affair with, and, I can just start my new life. I'll have their money. Let me just read through some of my notes and I'll read through chat as well. Thank you all for being here. Pink Dahlia, everyone else who has joined the chat since we started, thanks for being here. I saw Florida Bass Fishing in here and Caroline. Hello, everyone. So I have, during a welfare check, Lori referred to Chad as her brother's friend, and he said her brother in Kansas was trying to kill her. The officer thought it was interesting that Lori said her brother's friend when he witnessed Lori and Chad being affectionate in the Hobby Lobby parking lot, and they were aware that the two had gotten married. So they are legally married. They're being followed and surveyed by FBI agents. But yet Lori is over here telling the officer, like, oh, no, that's just my brother's friend. His name's Chad. And that's another example of just being very deliberate, very manipulative, very calculated. If this woman's mentally ill, and which, again, I just want to emphasize, I do believe that she has some sort of mental illness, but I don't think she's as detached from reality as I initially thought. Like, I'm starting to see that, the religious aspect was convenient excuse and justification, but everything that she's doing to the core just is like her manipulation and calculation and just evil. So her, purposely lying that Chad is a friend of her brother, if there was nothing wrong with their marriage and that was God's will and this and that, why hide it from the officer? It's just things that she does that's making me think that this was very much her mind was ready and calculating and planned and just very deliberate. So this is in reference to the day that Charles was killed. There was a small laceration on the back of Alex's head, but it wasn't consistent with being hit extremely hard in the back of the head with a baseball bat by an athletic man. Alex said after he was hit in the head, he went into the room to get his gun. Alex said he told Charles to drop the bat. Charles said, "What are you going to do about it?" And then came toward Alex, and Alex pulled the trigger more than once. So Another thing that April had to say, April Raymond, her former friend, and they were friends in Hawaii when she was living there. Lori reached out saying they needed a place to stay. Lori and Tylee went to stay with her. Lori told April that Charles had an affair. He was no longer Charles. He had turned into a demon named Ned Schneider. Lori said they were getting a divorce. Tylee was with Lori, but JJ was with Charles. See, and this is an example, another example of her being done with JJ and detaching herself from mother duties and just being there for JJ. Lori, and has nothing to do with him turning into a zombie. You know what I mean? It's just she wanted to pawn the responsibility of JJ off on somebody else at that moment. She was getting to be fed up with that part of her life, I think. And thank you so much, Rebecca Hooper. I'm so glad you're here. I hope everything's going good for you across the pond there. It's always good to have you around. So, okay, so Lori told April she didn't have JJ because she was done with him. Charles and Kay would have to figure it out. She thought done with JJ meant that Charles would take care of JJ because of the divorce. Lori said Charles was already dead and a demon was using his body as a host. When asked how she knew he wasn't Charles, Lori said, he's shorter. So, does she believe these things that she's saying to her friend 100%? Is there maybe 50% of her that's really believing it and the other 50% is just, she's just, wanting to move on with her life? When Lori was informed that Charles was dead, she didn't have much of a reaction. When she was informed that Charles was deceased, she responded that she already knew and made statements that she was present when it happened. She indicated that Charles became extremely upset that she had his phone. She said something to him about messages on the phone. Sorry guys, I'm just reading my notes. She said something to him about messages on the phone. She says he became angry. She was moving around the kitchen to keep the phone while an argument started. She refused to give him the phone. Tylee came out of her room with a bat. Lori said Tylee was prodding at Charles, defending her. Charles ended up taking the bat. See, and this is not in Alex's story, and never in Alex's statements, and correct me if I'm wrong, did he ever say that Tylee had the bat at one point. Alex then came behind Charles. Alex grabbed Charles and pulled him backwards. She says, and then a physical altercation happened. Now remember, during the testimony, which I didn't clip it, but they pretty much came under, in their investigation found out that when Charles was shot, he was in a defenseless position on his back. So they were fighting and this altercation took place and he was coming at him and said, what are you going to do? That's just not matching the physical evidence from the scene. They also indicated, and we talked about it earlier in the clips, that the first responder said that there was no sign that CPR had been performed on Charles. Usually your sternum cracks, and when they had gotten there, they were the ones to crack the sternum. So it was just all faked by Alex over the phone with 911. Lori said when she went outside where JJ was coming back towards the house. Lori put JJ in the car and they left with Tylee to take JJ to school. Charles' phone was eventually recovered from Lori and Alex in Charles' rental car. Lori told, and I don't know this guy's name, Yinklen, they left the house, went to get chicken fries and Sprite at Burger King for JJ, and then took him to school and then returned to the house. Lori told, and I believe it's the officer's name, Yinkin, that after she left the house, Alex called her. She told Alex she was taking JJ to school and Alex needed to call 911. There is no indication that Lori ever called 911. So Lori is just, telling her brother, deal with it in a way, and doesn't have any of this with her on record. Her voice isn't the one on the 911 call. She's not the one that's got to be acting as if she's shocked and surprised and, oh my gosh. And when she is confronted by the cops, we see her on camera, you know, smirking and just, ah, ha, ha. Come to find out she planned a pool party later that day. If the argument reported, but okay, so somebody asked the detective if the argument reported between Charles and Tylee and Lori and Alex was consistent among all interviews. Tylee, Lori, and Alex stories were pretty consistent. So was Tylee involved in kind of this whole scene, like covering it up with the stories? Unfortunately, you know, she's there to protect her mother. Her mother's brainwashed her, thinking that there's certain aspects going on, like Charles is cheating, just like we heard Colby say in the Netflix documentary that, you know, he was told that Charles was cheating too, you know, and nobody knew what to believe. And Lori was just pulling the strings as the puppet master. And hello, CDT and everyone else who has joined. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Jesse, for the super sticker. I'm scrolling up. I really appreciate you being here and for your support for the channel. And if you guys want to just support me anyway, all I ask is for you to subscribe and hit like, and everything else is obviously appreciated too. So 60K was what Lori got from Joseph Ryan's life insurance in 2018. So it says that they said Tylee was responsible with her money. They didn't see one negative balance. She had 2 automatic payments, her Jeep and phone. So she was pretty responsible with her cash. So when things kind of got moved around to where she was sharing her bank account, it seems like the forensic analysis, they were detecting a difference in her bank information. So here it says an email Lori sent to her account was shown. She tells the accountant that Charles Vallow died and she wanted information about how to forward tax returns to her new address. The email is dated 9/9/2019 at 5:03 p.m. Chuck says Tylee was killed September 8th or 9th. They believe the email was sent hours after we believe Tylee was buried in the backyard. And remember that 9/9/2019 is the same date that Chad sends Tammy that, you know, long-winded text message, which the detective said was out of the norm for their communications to be that long and very detailed about, you know, oh, I killed this raccoon, blah, blah, blah. That was on September 9th also. So a lot of stuff going on with Chad and Lori as far as, you know, bank information and, you know, covering their tracks with their spouses. It's just, it's very sad. I have more notes. Do you guys want me to read some more notes, or would you rather? Let me just actually switch the screen up and let's just watch some of Lori's hold on, let me just play her police interview, because I just feel like that's the best way to kind of see how she was acting the day that Charles was killed. And there is a lot of emphasis on Charles's death, even though this trial isn't her facing charges for Charles. Arizona State is charging her separately. So, but it's still relevant. Everything is connected. The death of Charles, I believe, led to the death of the children because, one, she didn't get that life insurance she thought she was going to get. So then she became desperate for money. And two, Tylee being so involved in this sort of altercation and making statements and, you know, just being a smart young woman, you know, she just knew too much. And I believe Chad was paranoid and thinking she had to go. And hello, Alex Erickson and everyone else who has joined. I'm so glad you guys are here. Give me a moment while I switch my screens. And for those who just joined, I did play almost 18 minutes of testimonies and audios and highlights, a legal analyst expert opinion on the phone call between her and Colby. So all that is in like the first 18 minutes of the stream, if you guys want to check that out.
Okay. And then what's your last name?
Vallow, V-A-L-L-O-W.
And your date of birth? And your phone number? And you live at the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I know this sounds silly, but it's probably the easiest way to start is just to tell me what happened. And then, so you can start.
Now already notice no tears. She's not distraught by any means. So here Adam asked, does anyone know what time they released the audio? So my understanding is, first off, they didn't have court Friday. So whatever audio is released today, I don't even know if anything's going to be released today, because on Friday they released the audio from Thursday. So today there's like nothing to release until, they're handed the audio. Nate Eaton from Idaho News, I've been following his coverage for a long time. And he pretty much says that East Idaho News will put it up as soon as they receive it. They don't even know like when exactly the exact time will be that they're handed the audio. It's just as soon as possible. So I would say keep an eye out on East Idaho News, and they're pretty quick with it.
What makes the most sense to you, and we'll just work our way through, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions just to kind of clarify.
Sure.
So I know you talked to the initial patrol officer.
And he just got information.
Okay. So yeah, if you can just kind of tell me kind of what happened. It sounds like some of this may have started last night or something along those lines.
Right.
So start where you think it makes the most sense.
Okay, so,
I told you, it's a crazy question.
Well, so we moved into this house 3 weeks ago because he offered to get me a house here where all my family is. So we were in Houston. And so he's like, we had decided to separate or whatever. So he's like, well, I'll pay for a house for you and for JJ and whatever, because he's all about JJ. He's never about Tyler, but he's all about JJ. Because we adopted him together. He's his great nephew. We adopted him as a baby. And
do you guys sense resentment from Lori towards JJ at this moment? Like the way that she's like, just referring to how Charles cares for JJ more, whatever. Like she's just like, I don't know. It's just like resentment, like an underlying resentment against JJ. Alicia sees it. And hello everyone else who has joined. Alice and Faye, good to see you. Yes, she was jealous of him. I just don't get it. And the thing is, Charles was all about her. She had somebody who, even Kay said that when they were going through their like separation and she was going in and out of his life again. He was distraught, she describes, very confused. We went through Charles's emails and texts to Lori and Chad in our last stream, and they're just truly heartbreaking. But at the same time, he held himself together with like dignity. He absolutely was just too good for her. 100%. And hello, Unravel. It's good to see you. I'm just going to read some of my notes too, like while we listen to this, and we'll go for a little bit longer. So here I have a little note about Colby referring to Alex Cox, his uncle. Colby said his relationship with Alex Cox was minimal and described him as odd. He was crude and kind of a funny guy and odd. He was asked if he loved his mom. Colby said yes. Do you think she loved you? And Colby says, I think so.
So we adopted him as a baby, and so we've been raising him together. And he travels all the time for business, so he's used to just going back and forth. So he's always gone like Monday through Friday. So he came when we first moved in and brought me stuff from Houston, like a U-Haul, and then he hasn't been back. But it's all these threats on my phone all the time, like whatever, all these things. And then he told me,
what kind of threats?
Just
save money, save energy, and help the planet. Proper equipment made.
You'd have to read them to see, but he's always mad at me, right? And he doesn't want a divorce, but I don't like him and don't want to deal with him, so that's just how it is. So we married for 14 years, we dealt with him for 14 years, and him being horrible to her. Like, he gets in huge fights with her, a lot of things. But anyway, so he said, I'm coming.
And I notice that Lori is always so vague with this detective. Like, she'll be like, it was bad. And it's like, what do you mean by that? Like, can you elaborate by what you mean by it was bad? And then here, like, they get in a lot of arguments, just, a lot of stuff. And it's just like, be more specific. Like, you can just tell it's like not true. And I know that this detective knows it's not true. I don't believe that this detective bought anything Lori had to say the moment that she walked in the room. It's just red flag. Like, you're not even distraught. Like, even though she says like, oh, 14 years, I don't like him anymore, but he won't get divorced. And it's like, right. You would still be upset, like that's the father of like your children in a way, the stepfather to some of them too. And it's just like not normal that she's not even a bit distraught. She doesn't have to cry, but why isn't she shaken up a little bit more? Here's a little note that I have about when Colby was on the stand. Lori stares at Colby. He refuses to make eye contact. Lori pulls out a tissue, wiping her eyes, but the reporters are stating that there are no tears. Colby's dad is William Lagoria, but explains his stepdad was Joseph Ryan and Charles Vallow. He asked how his childhood with Lori and Joe was. Colby says, bad. Did your mom protect you from Joe? Yes. Did she move away and divorce him to protect you? Colby says yes. Colby states him and Charles had a good relationship. He asked about Tylee's health, and he says she had pancreatitis and would often go to the hospital. He was asked about JJ's special needs and if Lori cared for JJ and himself. Colby says yes. So the thing that stands out to me about all this is everything before Chad seemed to be semi-decent as far as her being a mother. Now, Charles states her religious views got more and more extreme as the years went by. And then other people are stating as soon as she met Chad, the religious views were just, obscene in a way. I don't know. She wanted this new life with Chad. She went after him. We heard through the testimonies of Melanie Gibb that she was very much aggressively flirting with him the first time she met Chad. It's just, she's a man eater, in my opinion. And Chad was her next, conquest.
Wednesday night, all of a sudden, I want to see JJ. I told him, I said, I will never keep JJ from you. You can come see whatever you want to, come take him to school, whatever. Like, I'm not going to do that.
So when you initially moved, he had said he was.
And now here is something I do believe by her saying, like, I'm not going to keep JJ from you. You can take him to school, come get him up. Yeah, because you're done with him. So, of course, you're going to openly be telling Charles, like, yeah, I'm not going to keep you from JJ. It's like, of course, because JJ was getting in the way. Yes, Marianne, I believe she wanted the power too. Something in her in which, we heard from her cousin describing Lori's upbringing and how they were raised to think that they were better than, 95% of the population. When you're conditioned for a whole lifetime, your childhood up until adulthood and probably in adulthood, because the way that the cousin was describing it, it seemed very much like present beliefs that the father had. Lori was raised to think that she's better than everyone. So her wanting this power, and yeah, she enjoyed being a quote goddess. It was just all to feed her ego.
Was going to buy you a house, so you moved here with your.
Yeah, he was going to rent us a house.
And so we moved.
All my family lives here, so
right.
We lived here for a long time.
Okay.
And then he moved us to Houston.
Okay.
And we were there with my son. He was out of school. He didn't have any of his services.
I just have to pause it real quick and say hello to Cadamo Sting. It's good to see you. I'm so happy you're here, and I hope you're doing well. And hello, E.E. Caroline. Good to see you as well.
His DDD, his anything. He ripped him out of school and said, we're moving.
Okay.
And I didn't go with him at first. And he took him. And I let him take him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't file anything or whatever. And then he filed something against me and said, I'm only going to get supervised visits because I'm crazy and blah, 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 the story. And so I just didn't talk to him for 30 days and let him take care of him and let him see what I've been doing for the past 7 years, because men need to do that. You don't have to have kids. I have grown kids. I have grandkids. Yeah. Okay, you're going to threaten me that you're not going to let me see my child without supervised visitation? Okay, do it for 30 days and see how long it lasts. You're begging me to come pick him up.
Yeah.
But you did. She's like, come back and whatever. So I moved in with them to Houston for the family, and Ty went with me. We drove to Houston from here and left all our family, all his support, all my son's support, like his cousins, everything. And we were there. And I enrolled him in school there. I tried to start all his services, and it takes forever. It takes so long to get that done.
There's no easy transfer.
There's no easy transfer.
It's
a total new thing. And he didn't do any of it in those 30 days. So he just had gone without services, without even applying. And I'm like, do you even realize? Because he didn't ever do it. And the first place I did it.
And it's interesting to me to hear Lori sum up like these events and moving to Texas, etc. And then we compare it to how Kay was describing it. And she says, I went 30 days without talking to them. And Kay is saying how those 30 days were just so hard on Charles. And, he was just devastated. And over here, he's deceased at this point, and Lori's just talking about those events as if like, Charles was the problem. First off, he's the victim right now of this quote unquote self-defense scenario. And she has no problem dragging him, even though he's deceased. And thank you, Caroline, for gifting memberships. I really appreciate that. And thank you to my mods for letting me know, since StreamYard doesn't alert us. I will say I am thankful and seeing at the end of the stream last week that Duty Ron gifted memberships too. So if you were gifted a membership, thank you to Caroline and Duty Ron. I hope you guys think about extending the memberships once they expire.
Long story. I'll keep it short. He hasn't been here in a couple of weeks since we moved in. He came. He was very nasty when he was there, but he travels for business. So he went back to the Houston house, and he's like, I'm coming on Wednesday night, and I'm going to come pick up JJ and take him to school Thursday, pick him up Thursday, take him Friday, whatever. And I said, Casey wanted to come to the house. And I said, you can't come stay at this house because you can't get along with Tylee. She's a minor. She has to live here.
Yeah.
So Casey gets in huge fights with her.
Okay.
And she hates him. And so I'm like, you can't stay at the house. So I will book you a hotel, because he stays in hotels all the time because he travels for business, and the business pays for it. Right? So I said, I will book you a hotel nearby.
What does he do?
He works with teachers in their retirement plans, but he goes to them. He mostly works in California.
Okay.
No matter where we live. And we lived in Hawaii. He'd work in California. He'd work in Texas. He has like books of business in different areas. And so he just goes wherever. It kind of just gives him freedom. He doesn't have to stay home every day and take care of special needs. Yeah. Like an excuse there. Right? So I've done that myself for the past 7 years anyway. And I was a single mom before I married him with my 2 kids. Yeah. And he had 2 kids. We got married, tried to make a family. Yeah. Anyway. Last night, I said, well, you can't stay at this house because you can't get along with Tylee. I'll get you a hotel and you can come play with JJ. But he goes to school all day. Yeah. I got him back into his school. His services, I met with the DVD yesterday, and they finally are getting his services back. But we're paying $125 a day to have him back in school because he's so out of his routine. He's been a nightmare on the floor, kicking stuff, hitting stuff, walls. Like, he just ripped him out of his life. Yeah. So, anyway, just how he is, because he only thinks about himself. So. He says, come in and get JJ. And JJ's like, I don't want Dad, because he knows Dad took him away. So he was freaking out, right? So I didn't tell him he was even coming. Like, Dad's going to come take you to school, I think. So he didn't bother me last night, which I was surprised. I was expecting kind of an ambush for him to kind of like come over or be just mean. And say, it's my house. I'm on the lease. I'm going to stay here, kind of thing. Because that's kind of his macho attitude. And so he came this morning. I was getting JJ ready.
So he got in last night, but he wasn't at the house last night.
Yeah, I didn't hear from him. Except for he texted me and said, I'll be there at 7:30 to pick up JJ. Okay. And I was like, okay. That was good. I didn't hear from him. And then he came over in the morning, and he's like banging on the door. I'm like, oh great, here we go, And I was just gonna be nice. I'm just gonna be nice as possible. And I had JJ stuff all ready for school. So
do you remember about what time he got there?
He said he'd be there 7:30, but it was more like 7:40ish or 7:35. I don't know. Okay. But I remember thinking, looking at the clock, and he wasn't there at 7:30, and he's usually Mr. On time. Yes. So I was like, okay. And then JJ was like, oh, Dad. And then he was like, Mommy, and like ran to me and was like holding me. He's like, you're not taking me to school. And I was like, it's okay, Dad, I can just drive you to school. It's no big deal. Just trying to make it whatever. Calm. Yeah, calm. And then he was just being real smirky and real like jerky, to me. And I was like ignoring him, whatever. And so he was like,
your brother lives there with you?
No. Okay. He had stayed with me last night because I was worried he was going to come over and cause trouble with me. Okay. And just wanted someone else there, like my brother there, because
And interesting, she's trying to make it seem like, he's the crazy husband I'm trying to divorce who won't give me a divorce. So I had my brother come over and kind of be the buffer between us. And it could definitely, people might believe that. And thank you, Pizza Chemist, for gifting memberships. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and all your support. Thank you. Very kind of you. And welcome to all the new members. So, but at the same sense, by her asking Alex to stay there the night prior and be there in the morning for when Charles comes by, I mean, you could spin that and say this was premeditated, and whose gun was it? Was that Alex's gun registered to him, or was it just a gun in the house? Because if Alex comes over to stay the night, to be that buffer in between them, why would he need to bring his gun? Again, I don't know if the gun was registered to Alex 100%. I'm sort of just thinking out loud. You guys let me know. I will read a little bit of these notes while I have it paused, and I want to know your guys' opinion about Chad Daybell will not testify in Lori Daybell's murder trial. Now, that to a lot of professionals and talking heads this last week seemed very significant. They were stunned. They said usually when there's, two people like this, like one of them would perhaps testify against the other in a way to save themselves. What do you guys think? Okay, so it was Alex's gun. Yeah, he said he went in and got his gun. You're right, Pink Dahlia. So then why the heck, Charles was never, there's no record of Charles ever being physical with Lori. Why would the brother need to bring his gun? You know what I mean? So my notes say August 16th, 2019, Tylee's Social Security benefits started going into Lori's account. So this is sort of elaborating more on what I was saying about the financials around Tylee's death seemed to change. August 19th, Tylee's BBVA joint bank account with Lori was opened. August 31st, they moved to Rexburg. September, Colby asked Tylee for funds, but she said she had no money in her account, that it went into Lori's account. The final Jeep payment stopped on the 1st of September for lack of funds in her account. And mind you, remember we discussed earlier that Tylee never really missed a payment because it was automatic for the Jeep. JJ's Social Security funds started going into Lori's account September 2019. Tammy's life insurance increased on the 8th of September. So they put a request through for the life insurance policy to be increased all in September. First week, pretty much. After Tammy died, Chad made big purchases. And, we showed a little bit of their images from Hawaii. And you can even see like Lori's like dressing Chad, in my opinion. He's very like all of a sudden goes from being this like dorky Peter Griffin type dad body and dad clothes. No offense to dads out there. I'm just saying you can see a significant change in Chad's style, including big purchases on clothing, I would suspect. He files for her life insurance claim within days after she died. He attempted to refinance his house in October 2019. Tammy's insurance payout was on the 1st of November and the 6th of November. As the cops were searching Chad's place, he made 3 transactions, and we kind of talked about this earlier in the stream. $8,000 apiece from his bank account to 3 of his children. And then there was about $4,400 left in his account. So just that kind of lays out a bit of the data as far as bank info and, their moves that they were making financially. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. So let me just carry on a little bit with this. We're going to go for a little bit longer. We're not going to finish this whole 50-something minute interview, but Jesse asked, how much did Chad receive as the beneficiary of Tammy's life policy? Barb is saying $400K. I'm not sure if that's the exact number. Maybe someone else in chat can also back that up. Thank you, Barb, for that, if that is what it is. Good morning, Mia Moore Michelle. It's good to see you. True crime lesson. Make sure you time your life insurance payout properly. It's all red flag. And that's what I don't get is like, that's where I get confused. Like, so did they think that the world was really ending soon? Is that why they just were so blatant in all these like moves and like red flag, like transactions, etc.? Or are they just stupid, you know? And good morning, Crime Curious. It's good to see you.
Trust my brother, and it's been a long story. Like, I had to go live at my brother's when he took JJ, and you know, he's just been difficult. So anyway.
Keep it quilted means you keep it the best. Keep it quilted.
So I got JJ stuff ready. And he was like, well, and he's like this about timing. He's like, I'm leaving in 20 minutes because it's like 15 minutes at school, and like you can't get there early. They don't open the gates until 8:20 or something like that. And I said, well, why don't you just go now? I don't want him in the house. I'm like, why don't you just go now and take him to Burger King because that's what he likes for breakfast. And he's very particular about food. Like, he wanted chicken fries for breakfast and a Sprite. Like, and I just can't believe he because if you don't know what he wants, it's like on the floor screaming, dragging him, and just go like, and he's big and he was heavy and it was hard for me to handle that. Anyway, so I said, just go. And so he said, okay. So I gave him a backpack. He got in the car. This is his MO, right? He always leaves something in the house and comes back. He never leaves the first time. I always expect my husband to come back into the house, right? So I guess he had left his phone on the counter.
So he initially left with the backpack and with JJ?
And so he put them in the car, in the driveway, and then he came back in, right? So I kissed JJ goodbye. He came back in, and his phone was on the counter, and I had his phone. And he was like, give me my phone. And I was like, why don't you show me your text that you've been texting, blah, 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 you know, whatever. Because he's like acting really weird, like he's plotting something against me. Like, I'm like, why are you even here? Like,
She's actually the one plotting something, which is ironic there. And, you know, why are you even here? What do you mean? You literally just told this detective that you had corroborated with Charles to, you know, JJ get dropped off at school, etc. Like, already her story is just like falling apart. And I know that the detective is onto it. And for one, it's like, why would you even care what was going on in his phone anyways? You said you didn't love him anymore and that you were done with him. So it's just already like, you know, that the detective is like, this is red flag. But I'm just going to let her keep talking. Now, we know that they're not going to put Lori up on the stand. I mean, we don't know 100%, but I'm pretty certain that because her lawyers are still saying they're dealing with, you know, mental health issues still with her, even though she is participating in her defense, you know, they're not going to put her up on the stand, in my opinion. So the phone call between Lori and Colby was pretty much the jury's way to sort of see her under cross-examination in a way. She's being cross-examined by her own son on that phone call, which makes it interesting because she's very much sounding detached from the crime, from, you know, the deaths of these children. That phone call is not going to do her any justice, that's for sure.
what did you come here for? You know, he's been talking to my other brother, and my brother came into town at the same time last night. And I haven't talked to my brother in a while, my other brother, and I was like, and so he was texting him on the phone when he first got to my house, and I'm like, why are you texting Adam? Like, do you even talk to him? Like, my other brother. And, you know, he's been telling me all these texts, like, you're going down, blah, 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 blah. He's blaming me for our marriage breaking up and my niece getting divorced and my friend getting divorced. He said, I'm a destroyer of families because I want everybody to get divorced. I'm like, what would my motivation be for people getting divorced? So I could babysit the kids more? Like,
motivation for divorce, I don't know, money, I don't know. US Galucci says, what animal did he say he shot on the fence? And did they find that in the pet cemetery? And thank you so much for bringing that up, because that was on my notes list. I pretty much was stating that, you know, it's going to be interesting how the defense for Chad's trial explains his text message to Tammy about shooting the animal. And it was a raccoon, allegedly. You know, if it was true, then they should have no problem presenting that raccoon, you know, even in a picture form. Like, yeah, we dug it up. The defense team, we went out there, we dug it up, and this was the animal, and it was true, you know, but I have a feeling that that's not going to happen.
why would I have any control over what people do?
Yeah.
So it's just very odd. But anyway, he goes nuts. He's gone nuts on us a lot of times. Tyler and I have had to leave with JJ over the years, probably 5 times, and just stay in a hotel for 2 days because he goes nuts. Like, you don't know what's going to set him up, like, whatever. And she's mad at me for always, like, going back. But we had JJ, and he's special needs, and it's really hard. Like, it's even harder to get rid of yourself.
So when you say he goes nuts, that can mean a lot of different things. Right. So.
And isn't it interesting also, she just keeps emphasizing how hard JJ is to care for. And it's like, I believe that, which is why I believe you wanted him out of the way.
Goes nuts like yelling and screaming.
Yeah,
goes
yelling
nuts
and screaming.
Like breaking things.
Yes.
Goes nuts like physical violence.
He's never really, besides like grabbing us and pushing us, but not like punching us or something. But with Tyler, he has gotten physical.
Okay.
Before, and with my grown son.
Like physical how?
Like got into a physical fist fight with my son when he was 16.
Okay.
And he came after Tyler 2 times in Hawaii.
Okay.
And like went like he was gonna hit her, but then I got in between them.
Uh-huh.
Right.
How old was she when that happened?
Probably 13 and 14.
Okay. Morning he comes back in and
he comes back in. I wouldn't give him his phone. He was screaming at me to give him his phone. He was very worried about whatever was on his text that he did not want me to see. And so I was just holding it there, and he was screaming at me. And I was kind of walking towards around the house with it, so he couldn't get it. He's like reaching for it and stuff like that. And so Tylee came out of her room upset, and she had a bat, and she told him to leave her mother alone, like, right? So she was really whatever. And he's screaming at her, "Don't you hit me with that bat," blah, blah, blah. And then my brother heard all the commotion because he was in there in bed. And so he came out into the main room, and I guess whatever.
What's your brother's name?
Alex.
Alex, okay.
And then he just started, he was screaming, and he was super upset and whatever. And he was yelling at Tylee, "Don't you hit me with..."
Mama Bear asked, does anyone know if she took him off meds, referring to JJ, or just stopped buying his meds when he disappeared? My understanding was, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, she just stopped refilling them. And that was leading up to his deaths, which was another indication to me of her premeditating his demise in a way, like she was just done even doing the little things for him, like, filling his medication prescription. But again, I could be wrong, but I am pretty certain that there was proof that showed that for a while, she just had stopped picking up his meds. It wasn't just as soon as he went missing, then all of a sudden she never went to the pharmacy. Like, I think it was like leading up to that.
And so Tylee, I guess, I don't know if she swung at him or what, but he like grabbed the bat from Tylee and then went to like hit Tylee with the bat. And I was right there, they were right there, and my brother grabbed him from behind, like just to stop him from hitting Tylee.
You go like this, like he grabbed him like
from behind, like just kind of to pull him back. And then they got into the thing. He's hitting him with the bat, and they're on the ground, like grappling around or whatever. And then it was all.
And he hit your brother with a bat while they were grappling and stuff.
Yeah, yes, he was hitting him with the bat, like swinging the bat, back and forth, and they were kind of like on the ground, and I was like freaking out trying to go around, knowing JJ was in the car, right? And so then he got up and he had the bat like this towards me, and I was going around the other side to try to just get out of his range where he couldn't hit me. And then I had told Ty.
She literally just said that Charles had never gotten physical with them. And she even does the whole hand gesture of like the punching motion. Charles had never done that. But now we're supposed to believe that on this day, he's coming at her even with a bat. It's just not believable. And thank you so much, Roxanne. I will check out the Cash App in a moment after the stream, but thank you so much for your support and for being here and for being a great mod and just a friend. And thank you all.
Because she was on the ground because after he took the bat from her, she fell back. And so I told her, I was like, go get in the car with JJ. Like, I don't want JJ coming in to the house. And I wanted her out of the way. I wanted the kids out of the way, whatever this fight was going to be. And then...
do you remember what your husband or your brother were saying or yelling during all of this? If they were at all?
Just kind of, get off me, out, or whatever. They were like, like, don't talk to my niece about it, whatever. Like, it was, I don't remember specifics, but they were kind of in the heat of it. I don't think there was many words that I remember.
So Tylee goes outside.
Yeah, she was outside.
And then what happened?
Then they got up from that, and my brother had like stepped back, I guess, and then Charles was coming with me at the back and yelling at me to give him his phone still, because I had it in my hand. It was all really quickly. And then when I went around kind of in the circle, then my brother was there.
When you said when you were going around and he was coming at you with the bat, how was he holding the bat?
Just like that, like backwards.
Like he was swinging it backwards? He would have done like
he would have swung it backwards at me, not frontwards.
Okay, yeah.
He was a professional baseball player.
Okay.
So it was a good idea for Tyler to get out of that.
Probably not the.
I mean, he played semi-pro
Yeah.
when he was young. But yeah, and then I was kind of turned around, and we were all right there in that room, except for the kids had been outside by that time, and I heard the gunshot. And
so you heard the shot? Dude.
And I believe he was shot more than once. So this already is just not even adding up to the physical evidence as well. And that's a good point, Diane. And thank you for being here. Detective is probably thinking if she'd just given his phone back, none of this would have happened. Right. And for someone who's completely done with this guy, like, I'll say it again. Why did she even care about grabbing his phone and starting this whole altercation? You know what I mean? It's just very much looking very staged and planned. Has her brother come over in case something happens? Oh, what do you know? Something happened because you grabbed his phone? Just very strange. Now, here's another little note I have about Colby Ryan on the stand. November 27th, 2019. Now, this is obviously a few months after the kids are missing. Cops contacted him asking him where the kids were. He told them they're not with him, but he's concerned about his sister because his text with her was in a different language than how Tylee would talk and type. It was just different. He felt like he wasn't speaking with her. After the cops, he called his mom and asked what was going on. He didn't know where she was living, but she was in Phoenix, Arizona. She told me she was moving somewhere cold and that it was dangerous for her to tell anyone where she had gone. He tried to contact her on Thanksgiving, but her phone was disconnected.
Did you actually see the shot, or did you just hear it?
I had gone around to the kitchen to get away from him, and so back around. So I don't know if he went in the house.
I didn't, so I'm like a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, so I didn't see the shot. I heard it, and then I came back around and I saw that he was on the ground.
Okay.
And I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And so I was just freaking out, and I just went into mom mode. I'm like, I've got to go to get JJ to school. I've got to get to the kids. I got to get to the kids. And so I just went outside and to see if they were in there okay. I didn't want them coming back in the house when all that was going on. And
Yeah, you know, she had to make sure the kids were okay, even though she didn't talk to JJ for over a month after she dumped him with Charles. You know, it's just, you didn't care what was going on with him for how many X amount of days, admittedly to this detective that she didn't contact them for like 30 days. But now all of a sudden, all this chaos is going on, which allegedly you caused by grabbing his phone, and you're all concerned, you know, for the kids.
got JJ in the car, and he was trying to come in, and Tylee was like looking at me with like the crazy eyes, like what just happened? And I told her to get in the car and we're going to take JJ to school, and I just left.
When you came back in and you saw him on the ground, where was your brother? Did you see him where he was at?
Yeah, he was right in front of him.
Okay.
Like it all happened very quickly. That was, I mean, I feel like I was there because I was right there like a second later. Like I just went around the kitchen to get away from him.
Did your brother say anything to you at all? Do you remember?
No, we were both just in shock.
Okay.
Like it was just I didn't say anything. I went out with the kids just to check on them first, and I was going to come back in maybe, but I didn't. I was like, I just have to get him to school and call the police, come back, you know, whatever.
Did anybody say did you or your brother say anything at some?
Now she says, I just have to get JJ to school and call the police. Come to find out, she didn't call the police. She had Alex call the police, and 45 minutes after the gunshots went off.
a point about calling the police or calling 911? Do you remember?
Yeah, he called me.
Okay.
And he said, "Are you taking Gigi to school?" And I said, "Yeah, we need to call the police." And he said, "Okay."
Okay. So he called you when you didn't come back inside, basically?
Right.
Okay.
Because I was like in the car for a minute, and then I was like, "What do I do?" And I didn't want Gigi to go inside, and I didn't know what to do. And Tyler was freaking out. I was trying to get him away from the scene.
Understandable. Do you, and you may not know this, so, because I know you heard the shot, do you know at what point your brother had the gun? Do you know if he had it when they got in their first fight, or did he have to go get it, or do you know that at all?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
And do you remember if you ever heard your brother?
I didn't see him ever leave the room.
Okay.
So it was so fast. All that was so fast. Like, I'm on the ground, rolling around, and I'm screaming. And
this probably happened in a couple seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it was like super fast.
And I don't know if you know this or not. Does your brother normally carry a gun? Like, I carry a gun everywhere I go.
Right. Like, I know he's a gun person. Like, he has guns and things.
Okay.
He's good with guns.
Did you know that he had one with him?
No.
When he came over?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Because he's very, very professional with guns.
Proficient, professional. Responsible is usually a good.
Right. Responsible with it.
And see, the detective sort of fed her that word, responsible, and Lori agrees. And it's like, but you didn't say that, So to me, I doubt Alex was responsible with handguns even before this. So these notes I have, this is referring to Zulema. Now, we went through a lot of her testimony last week in the live stream, if you want to check that out. And I cut out the long pauses and ums from her testimony, so it's just very streamlined and easy to listen to. Here, she had said, they told Alex he was the angel who had come to Saul before he became Paul, and he was the one who spoke to him and made him blind so he would mend his way and become a follower of Jesus. They also told him he had been an angel before. He was an angel that appeared to Joseph Smith. They told him he had been exalted in another creation with his wife Holly, and he has been a very powerful warrior. He was unmasked. He has unmasked Satan in another creation. Alex quit his job and moved to Rexburg, leaving his things behind because Chad and Lori told him his sole purpose was to protect Lori. Alex believed everything they said. Now, this is another example of this premeditative sort of series of events. Alex has to move there to protect. And what do you know? This ends up happening with everything that took place. I don't know, guys. I just really think more and more that this was just very much like the state has described it as, the sex and the power and the monetary gain, in my opinion. It just seems like that's what this is. Yeah, the case is mind-blowing. I agree. Alex was so thirsty that he fell for empty flattery that appealed to his sense of valor. Yeah, I agree. Was Alex special? Chitty Chatty Meg says. I don't know. It seems like Lori and Alex, and from what we know of other people in their family, it seems like there is some bit of mental illness. I remember their one sister, although it was diabetic issues that caused her death, she apparently had an eating disorder. There's just a lot of strange things surrounding Lori and her upbringing. We went through a little bit of what her father believed earlier in the stream, in case you missed it. Yeah, all this happened before she went to Burger King. So we showed the surveillance in the beginning of the stream of her in the drive-thru at Burger King getting the chicken fries and all that for JJ. That is all taken place before I believe they even called 911, because we know that they waited. Hello, Lisa. It's good to see you. 45 minutes to even call 911. But there's going to be a lot more revealed this week. I really appreciate you guys listening to everything that I edited together. Again, if you missed that, it's in the first like 18 minutes, 20 minutes of the stream, just edited highlights from last week and some visuals in there as well. It really is insane, Mia Moore and Michelle. Like it's a different type of trial and case to follow because exactly like Corey said, there's just a lot of, delusional thinking, and you kind of have to really wonder, did they really believe what they were saying, or was this, I don't know. I'm really thinking that it was so premeditated and so calculated that I don't believe that she believed they were really zombies. I think that it was monetary gain after the life insurance from Charles fell through. At this moment in this interview, she might not even have even thought about killing Tylee because she thought she was getting that money from Charles' life insurance. Well, that fell through. Tylee has this Social Security money from her father. So then not only did Tylee know too much, but Tylee might have needed to become her paycheck. We've seen them transfer bank accounts and money like that had changed leading up to Tylee's death. It's just, to me, seems more and more like it really is about the affair, the money that she needed, and this power for some reason due to her upbringing of thinking that she's superior to others, like her father taught them. It's just seeming like that's what this is coming down to. Scout, thank you so much. She said, I truly appreciate and enjoy these updates and highlights. This way I can stay in the loop on this case. And that's what I didn't know how I was going to do this format for this trial, because for those who have followed me for other trials, I'm able to kind of clips and discuss it and look at the visuals of the courtroom, like when we followed the Johnny Depp trial and when we followed the Alex Murdaugh one. Now this one without the cameras in there, I'm lacking the visual. I don't know. I'm a very visual person, so I wanted to see her in the courtroom, like for myself, not through sketches. So it's just been very interesting. But a lot of audio listening and a lot of clipping takes place for these streams. So I hope you guys really do like what I put together, and I'll just continue to do it for the rest of this trial. So then this week I'll listen to everything, clip it through, piece it together, and then we'll come back and discuss it again next Monday. I was hoping to do more than one live stream a week, but like we've already stated, this case is just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm needing that extra time to kind of grasp what's going on here. There is a lot of good creators out there that are covering this trial on like a daily basis too. So if you haven't checked out Alex Erickson, a lot of other people are covering this case too. So if you're lacking and wanting to kind of discuss it during the week, I would suggest checking them out. And then we can talk in their chats, because I watch them and take notes and all that. And I really appreciate everyone's viewpoint on this. But I just want to kind of leave the stream the same way I kind of started it. And I want to raise the question of, is this a situation of she truly believed the children were zombies and she was saving them by, bringing them to their demise? Or is this a situation where it is just about the money and it's calculated and premeditated every step of the way? So that's what I kind of want to leave everything with. And I had that same question. Shauna asked, are they going to allow cameras in Chad's trial? And I meant to ask you guys that because I wasn't sure. So chat, let me know if there's going to be cameras in Chad's trial. They're predicting that that's not going to be probably until 2024. So Roxanne, next Monday, what? It's just very hard without the cameras in the courtroom. And I just want to bring together, something that's like quality. So I like to take the time to kind of edit this stuff together for you guys. So that's just how I'm going to do it. If I'm able to go live more than once a week, I will let you guys know on my community page or in the Facebook group, which will all be linked in the description box in case you're not in our Facebook group. And I agree, money is the root of all evil, and it definitely seemed to be a motive here. could be both, right? Vibrating back and forth between I am a magical celestial being and I need some cash, right? It really could be. It really could be both. Hello, Marshall Dove and everyone else. Okay, guys, I'm going to exit and we'll talk very soon. Hope to see you guys in other live chats. CDT is covering the Letitia Stout trial, and I've been following that in her chat as well as other people's chats too. Pizza Chemist and everyone who donated to the channel, thank you so much. I can't thank you guys enough. My moderators are awesome. Thank you, and we'll talk very soon. Goodbye, Sleuth Mom. Sleuth Mom's got a channel that's streaming the Letitia Stout trial live. So if you want to watch that live in real time, check that out. And we'll talk very, very soon, guys.